So in response to the continued attacks on short-barreled rifles and suppressors, a new bill has been introduced into Congress which aims to remove the NFA tax on all items once and for all. So let's break down what is happening in this very interesting bill. Now, really quick before we jump into this video, I want to thank one of the main supporters of this channel, which is Attorneys on Retainer. AOR is a company that provides amazing self-defense protection, and they're really in a league of their own. AOR is a real law firm, so they will help you even in self-defense incidents that maybe other companies would not. But now AOR has added something beyond even what they offered before, and they're adding this to their benefits with no extra cost to you guys if you sign up within 2025 or if you're already an existing member. Some of these new perks include civil liability coverage up to $100,000, red flag law coverage up to $15,000, and then also expungement coverage up to $5,000. AOR has created a new association and they have a license for a process through the state of Montana. And because of this, AOR can offer the most comprehensive protection on the market. If you're already a member, you just need to upgrade your plan. If you're already a member, you probably got an email. So you need to sign up for that. The new association, it's 100% free. It only takes a couple minutes. You have to put in a credit card. It's going to charge you $1. But then you will get that reimbursed back to you. So again, for free. So I highly recommend if you're interested in AOR and you want to get the best self-defense protection on the market, I highly recommend that you sign up now in 2025. If you're interested, click the link in the detail section and also in the pinned comment. And if you use code ARMEDSCHOLAR, you can get $50 off your individual sign-up plan or $25 off of a family plan. Again, check them out using the link down below. As I mentioned in the intro, in this video, we're going to be talking about a new bill which was introduced into Congress, and it aims to remove the NFA's tax requirement once and for all nationwide for all of these NFA items. This would apply against all these NFA items like short-barreled rifles and suppressors, all the taxes that you have to pay every time you get one of those items. This bill aims to just straight out remove that restriction. In essence, this bill would remove the federal government's monetary incentive to regulate these types of items. So that's also why this is very important. The bill we're talking about in this video is the Repealing Illegal Freedom in Liberty Excises Act, also known as the Rifle Act. The 3-page bill was introduced by Senators Boozman and then Tom Cotton, both of those individuals who represent Arkansas. And they're joined by Senators Ted Bund out of North Carolina, Kevin Cramer and John Hosen out of North Dakota, Ted Cruz out of Texas, Debbie Fisher and Pete Ricketts out of Nebraska, Jim Justice out of West Virginia, Bernie Moreno out of Ohio, Rick Scott out of Florida, Steve Daines, and then Tim Shealy out of Montana. There's also a House companion bill which was introduced in conjunction with the Senate bill, and that was introduced by Representative Hinson out of Iowa. Now, the text of this bill is pretty straightforward. The bill states that it is repealing Section 5811 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986. That section of the Revenue Code simply states that there shall be levied, collected, and paid on firearms transferred a tax at the rate of $200 for each firearm transferred. So that is the General Revenue Code, which creates the $200 tax mandate on all transfers of these NFA items like short-barreled rifles and suppressors. This bill will outright delete that language in the Revenue Code. The removal of the NFA tax requirement would take effect immediately after the passing of this bill. However, I do want to note that the bill only applies to future transfer of NFA items, and there is no reimbursement component within the bill language. It's not built in, so it doesn't say anything like you're going to get your $200 tax payment back if you already have transfers of these items. I would have loved to see that type of language included in the bill. Maybe even if they were worried about that, limit it to a certain period of time, 10 years prior or 5 years prior, whatever they decided to do. But unfortunately, that is not included in this bill language. Now, I also want to note that there is some interesting language at the end of the Rifle Act, and it states that nothing in this act shall be construed to place any firearms regulated under Chapter 53 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 under the jurisdiction of the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission. Now, that's also very important and very interesting language that they added in, because anti-gun groups and anti-gun, politicians have been pushing for a long time for firearms to be regulated by the Consumer Product Safety Commission. And that big push is really being, put forward because they want to include more oversight, more restrictions on manufacturers and certain firearms products. And they are doing that under the guise of product safety, but really they just want more regulatory oversight and restrictions on firearms. Now, Representative Ashley Hinson stated in support of this bill that the Second Amendment is a constitutional right that is not to be infringed. Law-abiding gun owners should not be forced to pay an unconstitutional firearms tax. This bill will remove unnecessary financial barriers on lawful gun owners for the antiquated 1934 National Firearms Act and protect the Second Amendment rights of Iowans and Americans. Senator Cotton, in support of the bill, stated that law-abiding Americans who exercise their Second Amendment rights should not be subject to unnecessary taxes and restrictions preventing them from doing so. Passed into law in 1934, the NFA needs to be amended. Our legislation will remove red tape that places an undue financial burden on would-be gun owners. Senator Boozman, in support of the bill, stated that Arkansas's hunters and shooters, sportsmen, and women who exercise their Second Amendment rights responsibly deserve access to firearms and accessories without jumping through bureaucratic hoops. I am proud to join Senator Cotton and our colleagues to take this outdated and burdensome hurdle off the books for the benefit of law-abiding citizens across our country. There have also been some 2A organizations like the NRA and NSSF who have also jumped on board in support of this bill. The NRA stated that they applaud the Representative here Hinson's leadership on the Second Amendment and her reintroduction of the Rifle Act. They state that this $200 punitive tax has only ever served as a financial barrier for law-abiding Americans to exercise their Second Amendment rights. We have now seen a few bills introduced into Congress with the aims of removing various NFA restrictions. We've seen the SHORT Act, which is aiming to remove short-barreled rifles from the NFA's language, the Hearing Protection Act, which is aimed to essentially remove suppressors from the NFA's restrictions. And then we've seen another bill introduced, which is a straight-out repeal of the NFA, the repeal the NFA Act. So we've seen a lot of things introduced into Congress targeting specifically the NFA. This one specifically is targeting the $200 tax requirement, and it aims to just remove that immediately nationwide. We have also recently seen the AG's office establish the 2A task force to fulfill some of the orders that were included within the Trump's executive order to protect the Second Amendment. And in a recent memo, you had Pam Bondi, who established that 2A task force, state that for too long, the Second Amendment, which establishes the fundamental individual right of Americans to keep and bear arms, has been treated as a second-class right. She states that no more. It is the policy of the Department of Justice to use its full might to protect the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. So the positive thing is that we now have pro-2A policies being pushed at all levels within the executive branch, and then now also a variety of bills, including this Rifle Act within Congress. The hard thing always with these Second Amendment bills is to essentially get them passed the filibuster within the Senate. Now, one of the interesting things with this bill specifically is that it is a pure revenue bill to remove the NFA tax requirement. So that means that there's maybe more potential to attach it to another bill, specifically on finances, get it through the finance committee and maybe attach to something else. But regardless, this bill would still probably have a hard path forward like a lot of the other bills which are introduced targeting the NFA. From here, this bill will go to committee, likely to the Finance Committee, and then we're going to see ultimately what the discussion is about the $200 tax requirement to remove it, what kind of discussion, what kind of push it actually has within the committee. We're going to be keeping our eyes on this to see what happens because this is just another component, another bill targeting the NFA. You know, this one specifically is for the $200 tax requirement, but we have other ones like the SHORT Act, the Hearing Protection Act, the Repeal the NFA Act, which are also moving forward. This one's a little bit more limited in scope, but maybe that will make it a little bit more intriguing and a little bit more palatable for, you know, members in Congress, maybe even the anti-gun liberals within Congress, because it's not a broad sweeping, just getting rid of all the NFA. Of course, I would love that, but this one is a little bit more limited in scope, but also it deals with taking money away from the federal government. So maybe you would even have some, you know, claimed pro-gun rhinos within Congress who don't like this as well. So again, we're gonna be keeping our eyes on this, see how it develops. As we get more information, I will let you guys know. As always, thank you guys for watching. If you like this video and you'd like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm, and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos, and then type it to a news. But as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And never forget, this nation was built by Armed Scholars, and this nation will be maintained by Armed Scholars.